So I got a little sidetracked with the. This is the stuff I should be finishing down here, and I actually just climbed back in here and started actually doing these damn things. And this one, for the most part, is all in place. Not the super prettiest welds, but good enough for who it's for. But you can see I got some tubing in here. I finally pulled those stupid little cubbies that were, riveted to the inside of the boat. Got those out of there, and I don't know. I was telling a friend of mine, it was like, I'm investing all this time and money into this thing, and every time I come in the garage, it just looks like a piece of shit because of the waves that we put in the side of the boat from blasting. The whole side of it, from that support down there, the original one, back. This whole side, I think this side was actually worse than the other one. They were warped, and it looked terrible. So we took that. That's, I think, what the hell did he say? It's a little less than 8-inch 1x1 tubing, and I got a porta power, and we kind of worked, from the opposite side and pushed these out. And right now there's just screws holding them on the outside. So as we worked our way up the boat, we just kept screwing into the tubing from the outside, like in strategic spots, where you still had a bow. A lot of them we were able to just push out and kind of overstretch the side, and the bow would come right out of it, and then you just put a screw in it and let off on it, and it would stay. So we went down the whole thing doing that on both sides, and I don't know if I ever got very good footage, I guess, of how the boat looked before, but it straightened the damn boat right out. Just those two pieces, they kind of split the difference just enough between this bottom, whatever the hell that thing's called, and the top of the boat, and we kind of put them in the middle. And this side had a real bad wave up here in the top, about halfway down the boat. It was a sharp, it looked terrible. And so you can see, I don't know if you can see up there, there's a little more screws than normal to get that thing to come out, but it straightened the boat right out. It's got little kind of waves here and there that aren't even hardly noticeable anymore. So I can't believe that stupid idea worked. So I've been thinking about that ever since we blasted it. I keep looking at the boat like, how the hell am I going to straighten that back out? Whoops, wrong way again. But yeah, this side was really bad, and it just put this nice curvature back into the hull. Maybe a little farther out than where it was originally sitting, because we stretched the skin obviously a little bit. And I don't know, maybe we just pushed it out and took the slack out of it, and it just holds itself right in place. And I think it's beneficial either way, whether we did warp the sides or not. It's stiffened the sides of the boat up a lot, especially up here where those tubes are under a pretty serious amount of tension right now. So, I don't know, I was pretty happy with that, the way that came out. I was going to weld those in, again, trying to get this thing so I can do a float test as quick as possible. I think what I'm going to do, I don't think it'll look bad if I do it under the paint. These little buggers. I'm going to go down it with these lath screws, flush mount, not flush, but close, and replicate the spacing in between the rivets, you know, so some of these will get just tacked back up. But I think I'm just going to go down the whole outside of the boat and just use that spacing and just screw it. So you'll have nice evenly spaced screws going down the whole outside of the hull. You know, yip-de-doo. They'll get primed and painted over, and you won't even notice it, I don't think. Right? And rather than wasting a ton of time right now trying to go all the way down those 10.5-foot things and weld them in. And I could always weld them later, but for now I think I'm just going to screw them. So the gunnels, the top of the gunnels, you could probably see it in the previous videos, but these gunnels were twisted and contorted and all goofed up. That the side over here on the right side was really bad. It was curled and it was just too much heat went into it. This one wasn't quite as bad, but it was still the flat portion of it was rolled way down in. So that was another thing we were scratching our heads on. How are we going to get those straight again? And we used the porta power again. We used that little foot, the little wedge attachment, and cut up a bunch of pieces of wood to use as spacers, and got shims out and stuff. And we went up underneath those and pried them back out straight. This side I had to go all the way down the thing with a big Ford wrench in order to straighten that inside piece, because the vertical piece that comes down was curled right up. So and then we actually cut 2x4s that go in this way and just wedge in between the gunnel and the outside of the boat, all the way up and down that. Like this side took a lot more pieces. This side only took there's maybe 3 pieces in there right now, but they're wedged in there and holding the gunnels in their position that they're supposed to be, which is they kind of actually, once you get them up in position, it slants outward a little bit from the inside of the boat, which is nice. You know, it makes all the water run off of it. I'm sure that's what I'm sure they built it that way. So we got them up straight enough and got that angle iron clamped to it. We got it cut off at the very end, but it goes way up in there and basically contacts the hull all the way up there. It doesn't really have to, I don't know. But for now, that's where we ran it. These will get welded. They will get stitch welded all the way along the top. And I was debating on flipping the boat over, actually, as easy it is to flip over, and then going and doing that entire bottom underneath it. The angle iron, just because I suck at TIG welding to begin with. I'm probably not going to be able to do overhead very well. So and then I got 3-inch flat bar. I'm going to make probably 3 or 4 verticals on each side that come up and right up against this surface and butt up to this. So you'll weld on either side of the flat bar and then weld the top across and run those down to right on top of a rib, wherever I end up putting them, but line it right up with the end of that so you can weld right to it, and that'll box the whole gunnel, you know, in place. Go all the way up to the very front, right where the dash was. Put your last vertical up there, going down, and I don't know. I think it'll stiffen up the boat a lot, the whole boat, and they got to be held perfectly square, anyways, in order for me to build my framing off of this angle. Everything, you know, the hood, the bulkhead, and everything else. So. And once you get the verticals in there and welded, you can probably pull those pieces of wood out. They don't need to be in there. I don't know. They're just wedged in there right now anyways. They'd probably just fall out. So yeah, I was happy with that too. Got that reshaped. So the only part of the boat that needs to be basically pushed back into position is the bow. You can see it's just kind of flopping, it's hanging down. There's no support underneath it right now. It actually has there's a bow to it in the back, pretty substantial bow, and it's got to come back up to that same arc in order for the bottom of the windshield frame to meet up with it properly. So I went and dug the old dash out, which was a big piece of wood with the arc into the top of the piece of wood, basically. And this seam right at the very end of this screwed down into the top of the dash. It was like 3/4 inch. I thought it was plywood, but it's actually it's a piece of timber. I'm not sure what kind of wood, but it had to be cut in half in order to get it out, because it went in behind those pieces right there. It's like it's like they built the boat around it. I didn't pull the dash out, my buddy did, and according to him, like, it's impossible to get it in and out with the bow in place, basically, that skin in place up on top. So I want to cut it out, replicate it, and then cut the ends of it off so it doesn't have to go in behind that, so it can just be slid into place. And just find a different way to support the end of it. Probably using the angle iron, cut those off, and then weld flanges or something on them that you can just bolt the dash in here. Because there's this really neat little tray that goes on the bottom of the original dash. I don't know, it's slick. It'd be nice for setting cell phones and stuff like that in that tray. So if I just replicate the original dash, I should be able to put that tray right back on the bottom of the dash again. And we marked this up here where we're potentially thinking of cutting it up to. I mean, partially because these damn cup holder mounts that somebody put in here, they're two different sizes, and they're not, that's a straight line right there across the boat, and you can see how they're not lined up. They've been driving me frickin' nuts. I mean, you know, we wanted to move the dash forward anyways, probably. So, I think that's where we're going to cut it off. We have to cut these supports up in the wood supports underneath it forward. Put those support brackets back on it for the dash, and just move it up. If you move it too far forward, that's why we put the tank in there, because we're going to get a rough idea how much leg room we would have if we move the dash forward. You know, you're not getting into the gas tank. Well, with that thing actually up in place, it's a lot farther up in there than I thought, like, which is awesome. That's good. The more weight, the farther forward, the better. So I think we could move this forward and maybe just not move the seats as far forward. It wouldn't matter. You could always compensate with, like, the depth of your steering wheel. If the helm is a little too far forward, maybe you want the seats a little farther back, so you got a little more room in between you and the dash. Then you know, just get a deeper steering wheel and have the controls a little bit farther back in the boat. So I don't know. I don't see a downfall to moving the dash and the windshield forward. I think it's just every inch inside of this passenger compartment is going to matter, I think. So, you know, a few inches here and a few inches there may make all the difference to where, you know, everybody can sit in this thing comfortably. At least 3 people, hopefully 4 people. You know, not 4 200-pound dudes, but I'm not that big. I only weigh 165. My wife is smaller than me, so maybe me and her and a couple of big dudes, and maybe someone still be comfortable and get out of the water and get up on plane. Maybe, I don't know. So yeah, that's about everything. Like I said, I got way sidetracked because I'm just, my knees are bad, and me climbing up in here doing these, like, I get down there and weld, and I can do it for about 10-15 minutes, and then I got to get up and take a break because my knees just can't take it. It don't matter how much foam cushion I put underneath them. I can't. They're old and wore the fuck out. So, I've been putting this off, but I think I'm pretty well done getting sidetracked. I I may play with that transom some more. I still got to somehow get those two skins to come out and make the transom housing sit correctly. And I think I got to do all of that before the stringers. I got to get that flat, and I got to get the transom the shape that it's going to be in, and get the flat bar welded on the vertical, the back of it, you know, going from the bottom up, so I have something to weld the stringers to. So I need to have a termination point back there, and I got to fix all those issues before I can put those pieces of flat bar in there. So yeah, rambling at this point. That about does it. Thank you for watching.